In this lesson, we're going to talk about different ways that you can display your data. The first one we're going to look at is a dot plot. Dot plots are a dot plot displays data values using a small dot for each data piece. The data points are arranged from least to greatest. A dot plot can have a few different shapes. It can have a symmetrical shape, so if we're reading it from left to right, it goes up and then comes back down. So it does the same thing on the left that it does on the right. It can have a shape that is skewed to the right, so that means it's going to start high and then go down low. And then if it's skewed to the left, it's going to start low and then move upward. These are our three main shapes. The variability or spread in the data points describes how far apart the data is from one another. This can also be represented by the interquartile range. The median and the mean both represent the center of data. When the data is skewed, then the mean is the best representation of the data. If it's symmetrical, then the median is going to be your best representation. So when we take a look at the following example, two different classes were asked how many minutes each student traveled to school each morning. We're going to make a dot plot that represents the data from room 434. We're going to do that on the left. And then another one that represents room 425 on the right. So as we create the dot plot, we're going to place a dot above each number that we have in our data. So room 434, I have a 5, so I'm going to put a dot above 5. You want to put it above it and not on it. I'm going to mark out the numbers as I use them. Then I'm going to have a dot above 7. I have 2 8s, so I'm going to stack 2 dots above the 8. I have 2 4s, so I'm going to do the same thing. I have another 7. I have another 5 and another 4, and then I have another 7. And as you stack them, you want to make your dots about the same size and the same distance apart. Then I'm going to make my dot plot for the second room. I have a 4, I have 2 5s, a 6, a 3, another 6, a 4, a 7, and 2 5s. So now that we've created our dot plots, let's answer some questions about them. Describe the shape of the two graphs above. So as we look at both of them, we can both say that they are both symmetrical. The one on the left looks more symmetrical than the one on the right, but because I have this 7 that comes up along with the 4 on the left, we would say it looks symmetrical. It's not going to be exact. Determine the median in each data set. So we've got room 434 and we have room 425. And we want the median for each, which is our middle number. So there's 2 ways you can do this. You can look at it and try to find the middle. The easiest way for me is to list those numbers in order from least to greatest, and then find the median from the list. And we've talked about that in previous lessons. So when I look at that list and I count, there's 10 numbers. So my median would be between the 5 and the 7. So I can see that I have a median of 6. And then I can do the same thing for for my other graph. So if I put them in order, I have 3, 4, 4. I have 4 5s, 2 6s, and a 7. And then the middle is between these two 5s. So the median for that one is 5. What is the difference between the center of room 225 and the center of room 434? The difference, 6 minus 5, is 1. So if you'll go ahead and highlight number 5, and you're going to use the information from the previous dot plot to answer those. Then if you will highlight number 6, so you're going to use what we learned in our previous lesson about MAD to find in the tables to find the MAD from your data. And you can mark out 7 and 8. And then highlight this page, comparing dot plots. So you're going to answer some questions about these two dot plots, similar to we did at the beginning of the lesson. The difference is these are already created for you. And again, if it's easier for you to write your values out in a line and look at it that way, it's perfectly okay to do that. The next type of graph we're going to look at is a box and whisker plot, or box plot. A box plot displays a data distribution using 5 key numbers. The difference between the first and the third quartile is your interquartile range, which we talked about in our previous lesson. You also have your minimum, which is your smallest number. You have your first quartile, Q1, which is the median half of your lower data. You have your median, which is your middle. Your third quartile, which is the median of your upper half. So remember, we use those two, that Q1 and Q3, to get that quartile range. And then you have your maximum, which is your largest number in your data. Now, when you have a box plot, you do have to have a number line. And the numbers on the number line, it just depends on your data what those numbers are. So you want the numbers on your number line to reflect the data in your data set. Now, on the box plot, so you can see in this example, we have a box with 2 lines coming out from it. So that's why we call it a box and whisker plot. And then you have a line in the middle of the box. Now, the box can be different sizes. It can be so small that it makes a square. It can be stretched out longer. The 2 whiskers coming off the side, they can be different lengths. And the line in the middle of your box doesn't have to necessarily be in the middle. It can be anywhere inside that box. So where your 5 main key points are, this first dot, this represents your minimum number. This last dot is your maximum. This first line that starts your box, this is your quartile 1. And the line that closes your box is your quartile 3. And the line in the middle is your median. So that's how we use a box and whisker plot. So those points are lined up with your number line, and if you line it up with the number, it tells you what that value is. So looking at number 1, it wants us to create a 5-number summary, which is just finding those 5 key points and then using them to create a box plot. So before I get started, I'm going to put my numbers in order from least to greatest on number 1. So my smallest number is going to be 34. And then I have 45, 47. I have 2 48s, a 49, and a 50. So once it's in order from least to greatest, I can see my minimum, my smallest number is 34. And then I'm going to skip all the way down to my maximum. I can see that is 50. Next, I'm going to find my median, my middle number. So I have 7 numbers total, so my median is going to be 48. I have 3 on either side. So my median is 48. Then remember to get your quartile 1 and quartile 3. We look to the left of our median, and to the left of that median, I have a median of 45. And then I look to the right of my median, and I have a median there of 49. So quartile 1 is 45, and quartile 3 is 49. So then, on my number line, I'm going to put points at all of these. So 34 is about here, my minimum. And then 45 starts my box. And I'm going to go ahead and draw my whisker to it. 49 ends my box. So I'll close my box off. But remember, your median is inside of that box. So my median of 48 would be about here. And then my max is 50. So if we're finding those things in order as they're listed, then we can just create our box plot from left to right. So go ahead and highlight number 2 and highlight number 3 to give your box plot a try. Now remember, when you're reading a box plot, you want to go from that point straight down to your number line, and that tells you that value. And then on the next page, if you'll go ahead and you can just highlight those directions at the top. And you're going to read the paragraph to the left, and then using that box plot, you're going to answer a few questions. Again, remembering we line it up with the number line below it to find the actual values. And then if you will highlight comparing box plots, so you can give your skills of creating and analyzing box plots some basic skill type questions. Give those a try also.